Hi, my name is Aaliyah Garrett, and I'm the Sustainability Outreach Coordinator for the University of Florida's IFAS Extension Office in Sarasota County. So today we are going over our Ways to Save Home Efficiency Tax Credits and Rebates webinar. It's all about the Inflation Reduction Act, or the IRA. We will talk about that more in a bit. But I've been with the county for about 3 years. In our sustainability program, we do a lot of work with energy efficiency, green buildings, solar, electric vehicles, climate change. So we have tons of classes, events, and ways to plug in. My email's right there if you're interested in learning a bit more about our other programs. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so what is Extension? Extension is a partnership between Sarasota County, the University of Florida, and the USDA. And you can think of us basically as the education arm of the University of Florida. There's one in every single county because the University of Florida is a land grant university. So I believe there's 67 total extension offices in Florida, and we are the one in Sarasota County. So we use the university's research and resources to address local community needs. So in our community, we have programs in 6 core areas. So there's agriculture, community development, gardening and landscaping, natural resources, nutrition and healthy living, and also youth development. And on our next slide, I have just some logos from some of our programs like Florida Friendly Landscaping, Master Gardeners, Green Business, Energy Upgrade. You've all probably heard of 4-H, which is our youth program. So aside from our sustainability classes and events, there's tons of volunteer opportunities, office-wide, other classes and events. So if you're interested in learning more about any of them or volunteering or any of the above, just shoot me an email or give me a call anytime. All right, so what we're going to be talking about today, the Inflation Reduction Act. This will just be a really high-level overview. There's still a lot to learn with this, but we'll touch on the basics. Then we'll talk about some rebates and tax credits that are available to homeowners, where we can start, new technologies, benefits of efficiency upgrades. We'll talk about some of the things that I've done in my own home that have saved me a lot of energy and made my indoor air quality a lot better. And then just briefly touch on renewables and electric vehicles, some other provisions that are available for people in the Inflation Reduction Act. And then if you have questions, just shoot me an email or give me a call anytime. All right, so the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA, that's what I'm going to be referring to it as throughout this presentation, is the most significant climate legislation in U.S. history. It really is super exciting and is going to do a lot for energy efficiency, greenhouse gas reduction, a lot of different things. So this was passed last year, and essentially what it does is offer funding, programs, and incentives to help us move more into a clean energy economy. So there is $370 billion of investments, and essentially, so there's a lot going on within this, but today we're just going to focus on the efficiency tax credits and rebates. So the IRA helps in this way by equipping homeowners who want to make upgrades so that they can reduce their utility costs and be more sustainable. So the Act disperses funding and incentives through 2 different channels. So those are rebates and tax credits, as I've mentioned. So there have been previous existing efficiency incentives, but they haven't really been well known, taken advantage of by folks, or really well funded. So there wasn't really a substantial motivator for homeowners to make those upgrades and apply for those incentives. So the IRA has changed a lot of that, and that's why I'm very excited to share with you some of the things that you can purchase. So the rebates are essentially a check you'll get for doing energy efficiency home upgrades. So there's as much as $14,000 available per household, but they are determined by your income. So if you're making below 80% of the area median income, you can receive rebates of up to 100% of the project costs. And if you are between 80 to 150% of the area median income, you can get about 50% of the project costs. And what's really exciting about this in particular, and near and dear to my heart, is that this really is focused on equity and energy equity specifically, because people who are facing financial hardship or low income might not necessarily this might not be their priority, going to get a new $8,000 HVAC system. But just think about how in the long run, it'll help them so much with lowering their utility bills, their indoor air quality, all sorts of benefits that these homes will now be able to partake in. So that's really exciting. And they also can be combined, the rebates can be combined with the tax credits. So you get those double benefits. And just so you know, our Sarasota County area median income is $71,761. If you don't live locally, you can check out on HUD's website, the Housing and Urban Development webpage, and I have that linked right there as well. So the rebates are going to focus on what's called the electrification of your home. And this is really important because our path to zero emissions and reducing our pollution and greenhouse gases means removing fossil fuel end uses in homes and buildings. So I think the last time I looked, about 40% of energy in the United States goes to powering our homes and buildings. So it's important that we start replacing older appliances with electric equivalents, because as we start cleaning up the grid and using more utility scale solar and other renewable energy, we'll get benefits all the way through the system if our homes are also electrified and the most energy efficient they can possibly be. So the IRA also includes rebates for things you wouldn't think of necessarily, but are just equally as great. So your circuit breaker panel might not be able to handle the load of all the new electric appliances that you have, but the IRA incentivizes that as well. So the tax credits cover up to 30% of the cost for certain home energy efficiency improvements, and households can claim up to $1,200 in credit each year with an additional credit of up to $2,000 for electric heat pumps. That's like $3,200 a year. That's awesome. And no income limits apply to these, but the upgrades must meet the performance requirements that are outlined, which I have, I think, coming up on the next slide or two. Yes. So for the rebates, what qualifies are heat pump air conditioners, insulation, air sealing ventilation, heat pump water heaters, electrical panel breaker box upgrades, electric wiring, electric heat pump clothes dryers, electric stove, cooktop, range, or oven. Again, you have to fall below 150% of the area median income to get the rebates. And if you are from 80 to 150%, it's about half that rebate amount. So for example, the heat pump air conditioner, you would get up to $4,000. Whereas if you're below the 80% of the area median income, you can qualify for up to $8,000. So for the tax credits, the upgrades are on the left, performance requirements in the middle, and the max credit is on the right here. So what applies? It is windows and skylights, exterior doors, biomass stove or hot water boilers, heat pump water heaters, heat pumps, central air conditioning, natural gas or propane water heaters, and home energy audits. So again, the performance requirements are in the middle, so they either have to be Energy Star, CEE, verified. So definitely make sure if you are going to purchase a new appliance, that it meets those requirements so you can get these tax credits. Rewiring America is a really great website. It's rewiringamerica.org. They have an Inflation Reduction Act calculator on here. And I really like it because you don't really have to enter personal information. Sometimes you go on websites and they're like, what's your email? What's your first name? And you don't need to do all of that here. It's just zip code, homeowner status, household income, tax filing, and household size. You press calculate and it'll give you kind of a rough estimate of what you would qualify for the rebates and tax credits. Again, this isn't very deeply specific, but it'll give you a good range. All right, so where should you start? I would start with a professional energy audit, and the IRA provides a $150 rebate for getting that done. And essentially what happens is a professional energy auditor will inspect and test your home to determine the most cost-effective improvements for your home specifically. And you basically want to do the things that are going to save the most energy for the least cost in those high impact projects. So Florida Power and Light actually does offer a free energy audit, and most major utility companies do. So check with them first as well before you do anything else. So some new technologies. The Inflation Reduction Act will help expand a bunch of new technologies that haven't been incentivized in the past. So heat pumps, which we talked about, they were on the list before. They're air conditioners that do both heating and cooling. They use electricity to move heat from one place to another rather than generating it. So it uses a lot less energy. Thermal storage is also pretty cool. It stores heat or cold to be used later. So for example, it could make ice during the night and then use that ice to cool your building during the day. And this helps shift the load. So instead of using our air conditioners all at the same time in the middle of the day, when we have the lights on and we're watching TV and all these other things, there's a lot of demand on the grid. Our air conditioning takes like 36% of our energy use during the day. So we shift that load to the night. So it's making the ice in the middle of the night when everybody's sleeping, nothing else is really on, and it just decreases demand on our grid during that prime hour during the middle of the day and in the morning and things like that. All right, so benefits of efficiency upgrades. Comfort and health are really important. It's not just necessarily the dollar savings, though in this economy that is great. Your comfort and health can be dramatically improved. And we'll talk about some of the upgrades that I made and the difference between those. But Americans spend up to 90% of their time indoors. This isn't just at home. Think about your office or school or wherever it is, work that you're in inside. So it's really important to have good indoor air quality in an efficient home so that you are breathing in the best air and using the least amount of energy. So for my efficiency journey, when I first moved to Sarasota, I had just graduated college and I was so broke, and I moved into this really old little 600 square foot apartment. I loved it so much. It was the best time. But again, it was really old, inefficient, had really old appliances, ancient. So when I first started doing this efficiency work, we had this cool little gadget called the Floor One. It's an infrared camera. And I asked if I could bring it home. So I brought it home to look around my windows and doors because it was very drafty in my apartment. And I started in November, December time. So it was cold. And as you can see on that bottom left picture, the cold air is just seeping in through my door. And what I did, and my windows too, I don't have pictures up there, but it was my windows. It was everywhere. So what I did, I got some rope caulk and foam tape, and around my front door, I put the foam tape, super easy to install, not very expensive at all. And you can see how big of a difference it made. That was before and after, like 20 minutes of a difference. So really great to do those insulation and weatherization upgrades as part of your incentives for the Inflation Reduction Act. Also wanted to show you my experience with replacing my HVAC system. You can see the photo in the middle. Well, on the left, there's the humidity monitor. In the middle, it's my condenser. And then on the right was the air handlers that I had. And the top pictures are the new ones and the bottom are the old ones. And when I first moved into there, the humidity was so high, like it was very humid. And after I had done the insulating around my windows and doors, it was still pretty humid. So I was like, something else is wrong. So with your HVAC system, your condenser, like as it's running, it's pulling moisture from the air. But it wasn't doing that properly from what I assumed. So I went downstairs and looked at the SEER and all the information that's on the actual unit itself. And I found that my system was 22 years old, and the SEER, the seasonal energy efficiency rating, was 11, and there's a code minimum of 14. And it was just really inefficient, really old, on its last leg. So I reached out to my maintenance company and they said, yeah, we know we need to update them. So we've been doing them as they go. And mine was due soon, so they ended up replacing it. And you can see on the bottom, when they took out my air handler and I saw inside, I was genuinely shocked that I've been breathing in this air. But it was very rusty and moldy and dusty and just terrible. And then if you look at the top, you can see the new condenser and the new air handler. And my point in saying this is the humidity, if you see it dropped 20 points, it went from 73 to 53. And typically people say it should be, 30 to 50, 40 to 60 range. But once you're in the high 60s, 70s, it's way too humid. This is one day after they changed it out. So it's just amazing the difference that it made. I was more comfortable. My indoor air felt so crispy and clean. So if you do have an older system, I really recommend changing that out as well. And my utility bill went down a lot. All right, so we're just going to really briefly touch on this renewable energy. As I mentioned in the beginning, there's a lot of cool stuff going on with the Inflation Reduction Act, and we couldn't possibly cover it all in one presentation. So this one is just focusing on efficiency, but we will have others coming out about renewable energy, electric vehicles, and other things as well that apply to homeowners and our residents. But for renewable energy for homeowners, there's a 30% plus tax credit that's available for solar and battery storage systems. And this is exciting because the battery storage can now be purchased independently, which wasn't available in the past. So if you already have a solar system, you can now buy the battery storage and get that as a resilience tool, and just so you are able to use your solar energy all the time. All right, electric vehicles, they also include tax incentives for energy efficient transportation. So they also do used vehicles. So for new electric vehicles, it's a 7,500 tax credit. For used, it's up to 4,000. And this is good because we're going to see the secondary market start to move as used electric vehicle tax credits come into play. And you can see more information from the IRS to learn about the full set of requirements and eligible vehicles and things like that. It's listed right there on the screen. And of course, I've mentioned this a few times, but the Inflation Reduction Act is very, very new. There is still a lot to learn. I anticipate getting more guidance from the state and the federal level in the fall of this year. So as we know more, you'll definitely know more. But this is a 10-year time frame, and there's a lot of provisions that will operate through the next decade. So we have a while to get things right, and that's kind of what we're gearing up for. And of course, detailed rules and regulations still need to be written and issued. New policies generally go into effect in 2023 unless otherwise noted. You always want to consult your tax advisor before making any investments. And get involved with us, stay connected. We have blogs, our website, email list for newsletters, our social media accounts. We have all of our webinars recorded on our YouTube page. There is a lot changing with the Inflation Reduction Act, and we're still learning more information. So definitely stay connected with us so you can keep up to date with all of that information. You can request a speaker group or club for us to come speak to them. We talk to HOAs, all sorts of organizations. So please do reach out if you are interested. And a full list of our upcoming events and classes is on our Eventbrite page linked right there if you want to attend anything live. And just always want to say at the core of Extension is a commitment to serving everyone. So if you need any accommodations whatsoever to attend any of our programs, please let us know in advance and we will try to make that work for you. And these are just the resources where I got all my information for this presentation. All the links are clickable, but if you have any questions about any of them or would like additional resources, please reach out. And any questions, again, just reach out. Thanks so much for watching.